Hello, I'm Bob Chenoweth. I'm 92 and a half years old. Today is January the 5th, 2016. I am updating my family history made by my father starting in 2014, which we believe is the oldest home movie made in America. I will make a note that my two sisters seen in this video have passed away. I'm the only surviving sibling. Thank you. Enjoy.
This is Wilbur Chenoweth, his brother, who was born right after our grandfather died. That's Wilbur Chenoweth on the left, grandmother Pearson, Ethel, his sister, and Ruth, who later became Ruth Watson. This is one of the earliest pictures of any family in the United States. Wilbur, I would judge, is 8 or 9 years old. This is grandmother Pearson, a very articulate lady. I always thought very intelligent. And obviously Harold Chenoweth is using his new hand crank camera. This is the same day apparently. That's Wilbur Chenoweth on the left, my father Harold Chenoweth, who took these pictures, on the left, grandmother Pearson in the background, Ethel, the dark-haired lady, on the right, and Ruth, Sister Ruth, second from the right. Unfortunately, the heads are cut off because of transfer. This is John Pearson, their half-brother. After grandfather Chenoweth died, grandmother remarried a banker whose name was Pearson, the father of John here. John since passed away, I understand, so that means that all of these people are now deceased. This is William Jennings Bryan, who could have been President of the United States, one of the more famous politicians from the state of Nebraska. He was a famous attorney, advocated free silver, a Democrat. This again is William Jennings Bryan, and I suppose some of the local politicians, I believe probably in Lincoln, Nebraska. Wouldn't you like to have some of those cars? This is William Jennings Bryan addressing ladies during World War I. I don't know what the significance was, but being a politician, he's addressing the ladies. And this is the marriage of Harold Chenoweth to Edith Burns, my mother. That's my mother and father. My grandmother is to the left, and my grandfather, a Methodist minister in Kansas, to the right. And I think my dad just kissed my Aunt Lois and my mother. I'm not sure who the other people are, but this is the marriage, the wedding ceremony. And this is my grandmother and grandfather, a wonderful couple, very kind people, and my mother and father. My dad sitting, I guess after his wedding, but I don't know who that was. This is my older sister, Betty. She was the first of all the grandchildren, and my mother is on the left. Betty's being held by grandmother Pearson. Betty died when she was 4 years old, shortly before Jean was born. This is Betty with the maternal grandparents in Kansas, and my Aunt Ruth on the right. This is Ruth and Grundy. Pardon me, this is Ruth and Watson, and this is her ceremony, her wedding ceremony. Ira Watson was a hay farmer, They probably met at the University of Nebraska. I know that he was Phi Beta Kappa at the University of Nebraska, as was his oldest daughter. I believe that might be Wilbur to the left next to the post, but I can't be positive. I'm still not sure. Grandmother Pearson. And another fine old automobile that I'd love to have today. And this is Ethel's wedding. Ethel married a man. She died early after this. I don't know when. He was a Christian Scientist. My dad always harbored some hard feelings because Ethel had a burst appendix and he didn't get her to the doctor. This is my sister Betty again, shortly before she died, with Wilbur and Grandmother Pearson. She was a lovely girl. And as I say, the only grandchild, and she died shortly after this. You know, so you can see her coughing. You know, I often wonder if she wasn't suffering now. Wilbur was always a very handsome man, well-dressed. And Grandmother Pearson, as I say, a very intelligent, articulate lady. And this is Jean, my sister, and that's me, Bob Chenoweth. I'm now 76 years old, if you want to put a time frame on this. Jean's a year older than me. And as I say, Jean was born shortly after our sister Betty died, which had to be a very difficult experience. This is Buster Keaton. A little bit of interest. My dad used to go to Hollywood and pick up equipment and new information. And this apparently is in California. I don't know whether those are avocados or what. And this is in Benson. I can tell from the house in the background. This is the house I was born in the background. And he's obviously showing off his new IMO 35mm camera. This is Christmas, apparently in Omaha on a day with no snow, a Christmas with no snow in Nebraska. That looks like Santa Claus' house in the middle. And I'm sure that I was taken there. Jean and I were taken there about the time these pictures were taken. It's too bad we didn't have snow. This is Wilbur Chenoweth, looking very handsome. And they're obviously viewing one of the first airliners. Looks like an airline pilot. I have no idea what airline it could be, but these must be local airline executives and probably local people in Nebraska. I have no idea whether this is in Lincoln or Omaha. But it's interesting to see that early airliner. Now, in this picture is General Pershing's son, and I don't know which one he is. Jean and I think Wilbur's in this picture. In fact, I think that's Wilbur right there. And Jean seems to think that she sees John Pearson in there. Here we are at the grave of our sister who died before we were born. It was a regular experience. You can see that she was born in 1918 and died in 1922. And this was a regular thing to do. Every Memorial Day, we went to Forest Lawn Cemetery in Omaha, Nebraska, and put flowers on the grave. My mother and father are both buried alongside Betty now at Forest Lawn. I visited the gravesite last May. Took some flowers. Actually, I went there right after the 4th of July, not on Memorial Day, but it was in July I was there. This is Forest Lawn. That's no longer there. It used to be beautiful with the swans, but I guess they've expanded and had to fill that in. Now this is Wilbur Chenoweth, Sr., in Tecumseh, Nebraska. This was another regular trip for us. You'll see me with my back to the camera, Jean to the right, Wilbur Chenoweth, grandmother Chenoweth, and my mother, Edith Chenoweth. Grandmother, I should say, Pearson. She was grandmother Chenoweth when Wilbur was still alive. You can read that date. That's got to be just before Wilbur Chenoweth was born, because he was born right after our grandfather died. I believe my father was 5 years old at the time. This, I believe, is in Tecumseh, the home that they lived in Tecumseh. Wilbur is with me, looking very dapper, and I was always proud to be with Wilbur. He was such a charming man. This has got to be an old Essex, because if my dad's car, it had to be an Essex or a Hudson. I think we're still in Tecumseh. I think that's Wilbur to the left, and my mother, and grandmother Pearson, Jean, my sister, walking, and there's me on the right. I don't know who these people are, or the significance of this picture. I think it's probably right after we visited the gravesite. My mother on the right was Edith Chenoweth. I don't know who those people are. And I don't know who these people are, but okay. This is John Pearson with grandmother Pearson, and Wilbur in his roadster. Aren't those a couple of good-looking guys? I'll tell you. John recently passed away, so they're all gone now. But John was always super handsome. Now, this is Artie and me. Artie was a vaudeville comedian who worked with my dad for matinees, between matinees, with some very interesting programs. I have some great stories to tell about Artie. And you can see he was my buddy. And I, one time, had to be his shill when somebody was supposed to go on stage, and some little kid, and if nobody else went, I was supposed to, and my mother nudged me and said, "You better get up there." No other kid went up. So the first thing Artie did was ask me my name. Well, I was dumbfounded. I said, "You know my name." And I guess I was supposed to be a stranger. Okay, this is the first pictures we have of Louise Granger. I don't know whether they're married yet or not. See if you can see a ring on Louise's finger. But it's obviously in a park in, I presume, Lincoln. And Wilbur and his bride, or soon-to-be bride, Louise Granger. I always thought she was a very pretty lady. Nice looking couple. Sorry I don't have more details. Well, there's the world's worst batter. That's the house I was born in Omaha, Nebraska. And grandmother Pearson on the right, Jean and myself, with our mother. Well, there was snow for this, hopefully Christmas, but, and that's a wet snow hanging on the trees. My mother, grandmother, and, that was a short picture of Lodi at the hospital, but I cut it. It was an overlap. Sometimes these things happen, and I transfer. And that's my sister Lodi on the left, and me on the right, with grandmother. That's grandmother right behind Lodi. And Jean on the left. My mother on the right. Lodi's still living, lives in Omaha. She's the only one left in Nebraska. She was always a very pretty little girl. Her name really is Lois Ann, and there is Lois Ann, and oh, here comes Justin. This is in Lincoln. They had, I always remember that beautiful house they had. The church way down in the background is where Wilbur played the chimes. It was always a lovely house. There is Grandmother Pearson in the center, my mother and Jean on the left, me on the roller skates, Bob, and Wilbur, always looking like a banker. Very well-dressed man, always well-dressed, I'll tell you. And we're all going in. Now, I know that's my mother on the right, and I'm not sure I don't think that's Mrs. Granger, but perhaps it is. There's Justin on her skates. That's me on the left, Lodi, Justin, and I don't know who the two people are with the car. That's me on the scooter, me being Bob Chenoweth, Lodi on the right. This must be in the early 30s, from judging from that car that just went by. There's Justin with her doll. Once again, dapper Wilbur Chenoweth. Okay, here's Louise on the left, Wilbur. This is all of the, this is the Watson family. That's Justin in the foreground, and Michael in front of Grandmother Pearson, and Carolyn, the youngest of the Watsons, in the foreground with Justin. I'm not sure I can identify everybody. That is Michael sitting next to Grandmother, along with Justin and Lodi. These are the, those are Michael, Justin, Michael holding the dog, Lodi, my sister Lodi on the right, and the youngest Watson girl, I gotta get these straight. Michael was like me. He didn't like to have to pose for pictures or be in the pictures. You can see he's rather angry. But quite often we were just ordered to get in the pictures, and it didn't go over too well. But this is the whole family, Grandmother Pearson and all of her offspring, apparently. And I believe this is in Grandmother Pearson's backyard in University Place, outside Lincoln. Because, well, I know that, I remember that swing as Grandmother's backyard swing. Oh boy. Very unsophisticated people. I was always the one starting that terrible stuff. That's John on the right, John Watson on the right. I believe he's still alive. He became a banker. John went through some rather terrible experiences in World War II, through the Battle of the Bulge and so forth. He came back, took over the bank, instead of going back to college, and became very successful. Once again, we're in Tecumseh at Wilbur Chenoweth, our grandfather, Wilbur Chenoweth's grave. I think you know who these people are. My mother, grandmother, me, Bob, Lodi, and Jean. That's my mother on the right. Now this is that's a 1937 Hudson, so that gives you a time frame. Okay, this is the Wilbur Chenoweth home. Probably, my guess is this is in the early 40s. It's Christmas time, that's for sure, and I think this is for, this is probably 1940 for the Nebraska-Stanford Rose Bowl game. Nice clear day. I guess this must be in Santa Monica. But I believe my father went out for the 1941 Rose Bowl games, which would make this Christmas of 1940. Now there's my dad with his Nebraska big red ribbon on. A real Nebraska football fan, I'll tell you. Nice avocados. Grandmother Pearson. She must have been living there with the Wilbur Chenoweth family at the time. And there's Louise, Justin, Michael, and Wilbur. These are very memorable because Michael died of polio later. He still doesn't like to have his picture taken. Okay, my sister Lodi on the left, Jean second from the right. Why this is in here, I don't know, but I think Lodi just graduated from high school. So, my dad on the left, my mother, Lodi, and Lodi's friend. This is their victory garden. I guess we were leading up to this picture of grandmother again. This has got to be during World War II because I'm not in the picture. I think I'm off in the Navy. I don't know, unless I'm taking the picture. Could be home on leave. But the victory garden. Well, I was home on leave. This is the Ruth Watson. Is that Ruthie? Yeah, Ruthie and her family. Ruthie's passed on. Oh, here's the Wilbur Chenoweth family. My wife, Gloria, is on the left. Wilbur is at the piano. Louise is in the foreground. Mrs. Granger is standing next to the piano. And we're coming up on Al and Jean Twino, my sister Jean, and my father's wife. He remarried. I can't remember her name. Really, that was a really lovely lady, and I can't think of her name. My father, and there's Ray and Justy, and Joan. More of the same. Oh, I'm in it now. I must have taken that last picture and somebody else is shooting this one. With my beautiful wife, Mrs. Granger, Jean and Al Twino, Harold Chenoweth's wife, and Ray and Justin. Well, Chenoweth Creek. I don't know where that is, but I guess it's worth a mention. This is one of these trips back to the coast. And, here we've got Mrs. Granger with a cane now with David. David, I don't know why, but David was not in that last series because he was in school or something. But Joan is here again with Louise and Wilbur. Once again, David, Louise, Mrs. Granger, Joan, and Wilbur. I'll tell you, Wilbur was really a very handsome man. Well, you probably can identify the house. I don't remember this house, but I think it's Brentwood. I'm sure you can fill me in.